Hello everyone, this is Tim. I just wanted to show you a few pictures of the Lamentations of the Flame Princess box set. Currently, I can't find my copy. I don't know where I put it. It's probably lost in my little room here somewhere since I've been organizing things. But I already have the review and all my notes, so I'm just going to go off of those. But I just want to show you the box set and what it looks like when you open it up here. It comes with a pencil and a nice little small set of dice. And then the next shot is just all of the books that are in there, the tutorial, the referee guide, player handout, the two adventures, and just all the character sheets and the graph paper. It was really a lot of fun to open up this product. I can't remember the last time I've had this much enjoyment out of opening up a new product that I bought. I don't know if it's just for the fact that this was a box set and I didn't know exactly what was in there when I bought it. Just compared to just buying a normal RPG book. I just had a lot of fun opening this, and I wanted to do a review. It's taken me a lot longer than I expected it to. But yeah, here I go. One of the cool things about this product was that it had a recommended reading list to try to come across with the kind of flavor the setting is trying to portray. Basically, it wants to harken back to those horrific, kind of pulpy adventures and stories. And I really enjoyed how each author was described. And there were some authors that I had not read personally, but I've heard about. And just having this reading list is kind of neat because I can go through and say, well, I haven't actually read any of this author's work. So if I want to get some more flavor, some sword and sorcery feel, I should probably check this out. And that's what I'm going to do. Whenever I go to the bookstore, I'm just going to keep an eye out for these kind of books, these authors, and see if anything comes out. There are some quotes in here that I want to go over. An expert filmmaker with a budget in the hundreds of millions of dollars can equal neither the spectacle nor the depth of what the humble writer accomplishes with mere words. And that kind of resonated with me. Just somebody sitting alone with probably a typewriter when these stories came out, and just letting the imagination just kind of flow forth onto the page. Can be so much more than what we can do with CGI and any sort of special effects that you can come up with. And sometimes it's a lot nicer because you're imagining everything in your own mind. And I think that's something that RPGs have definitely tried to emulate, coming up with your own creativity and bringing your imagination to the table. And it just kind of re-emphasized that, and I just thought it was a neat quote. Here's another one. The experience of reading a good story surpasses most others in life. All you have in life is time. Spend it wisely and under sufficient lighting. And all the way through reading these little books, the pamphlets, I just found myself chuckling out loud. I really enjoyed the writer's style, just how everything was put together. It kind of felt like, while I was reading everything, that it was like I had an older brother, and he was into metal, and he happened to write an RPG. And he was down to earth. He was pretty cool about it. I just like his style. I really like everything about this product. It was just it's kind of refreshing for me to get this. It was pretty neat. Some of the authors that are in there are Clive Barker, Robert E. Howard, Fritz Leiber, H.P. Lovecraft, Edgar Allan Poe, Clark Ashton Smith, J.R. Tolkien. But he kind of said, well, it's almost like I shouldn't, mention him because everybody knows about him, but it's in there. Jack Vance, Jules Verne, H.G. Wells, and there's a whole list of others on the back of this thing. And I just really liked that was included in the RPG product, and I don't know, I just want to talk about that. There's a few more quotes from the different books. Referee's attempt to front-load all of that information, for the setting. A richly detailed world with an extensive history is the result of a long campaign and not at its beginning. And I think that's kind of true of several things. My cat wants to say hi. Where players can kind of get overwhelmed if you try to hit them with everything up front. And it's usually better to just kind of give a little bit at a time as you go. If they know the setting, obviously you don't have to do that. But especially if it's your own do-it-yourself setting, I think you need to just give them a little bit at a time. Start out with that whole hero's journey thing where they start out in the middle of nowhere, a little farm boy somewhere, and then they experience the setting as the campaign goes on. The warning and the welcome sheet is quite humorous. Again, I just found myself laughing out loud while I was reading it. The character sheets look cool, especially with the D6 skill system. You literally just have, the dice with the 6 pips, and they're hollowed. You can fill them in, since there's a lot of rules, like a 1 and a 2 on a D6. You roll and you see if you got a 1 or a 2. And you basically just fill in the pips for your skills on those. So I like that, and I'm going to try to make my own character sheets for my other old school game that I'm running right now, Labyrinth Lord. And I'm going to truly try to kind of bring the two together if I can. So the only complaint I had about the character sheet was that it was a little bit too small for some things. If it would be like a little bit bigger, you might be able to write more on there. That was only a small complaint. The tutorial that comes with the book is not really necessary for hardcore RPG enthusiasts or addicts, like I like to call myself, but it's very nice for someone who's just getting into the hobby. They want to try to see what's going on, what's this whole RPG thing about. So it's pretty good for newbies. The rules book is a lot like Labyrinth Lord and the Basic and Expert classic Dungeons and Dragons. The stats are basically 3d6 in order with a -3 to +3 modifier. The stats are in alphabetical order, which has always been my pet peeve with Dungeons and Dragons. Like, why does strength have to be first? Charisma starts with a C. Why isn't that first? I don't know. I like that nice little tweak there. It's a simple little change, but I greatly appreciated that. Characters' personalities and beauty are really left up to the player. It's really not designated by stats, and this is kind of like that old school theme where just because the character stats say one thing doesn't mean you have to play stupid. Doesn't mean that you have to hold yourself back because of the stats, and I like that a lot. It clarifies that solving puzzles and memory are left up to the player, and really with this game you have to read the definitions of things. You'll read what a stat means, and you're like, oh, so it's more vague, it's more open-ended than I'm used to that stat being. So it's something to check out. Basically, there's different rules on how to generate stats. There's classes are the Cleric, Fighter, Magic User, and Specialist. And Specialist is kind of like the Thief or a Rogue, but a little bit different. The non-humans or the demi-humans, the Dwarf, Elf, and Halfling are in there. This is more of a humanocentric themed game, but they're in there just mainly for flavor, and those like me like to play those weird races from time to time. The fighter description is awesome and kind of dark, and again, you have to read everything. You can't really, if you try to skip over stuff in this book, you'll miss little gems that are in the text. It's the fighter's the only class that gets better at attacking, and it's kind of like niche protection for the fighter. But again, if you just have to read through everything in this game. I really just enjoyed the description, the adjectives, the words that were used. The Magic User also has a nice dark description, and it talks about how alignment is more like cosmological. Magic users are chaotic because they mess with the fabric of the universe and they change things. And I like that concept of alignment where it really isn't a morality thing, it's more of a destiny cosmic thing. So I thought that was neat. The Specialist, like I talked about, it improves in skills, and they are all D6 based. And instead of wherein it's like Labyrinth Lord, Basic, and Expert, the Thieves were D100 roll under, this is all D6. So it's a little bit more streamlined, a little bit more kind of unified, I guess. The fluff and the descriptions, they're just great, not everything that you read in this section. The dwarves, yes, they're traditional dwarves, but they're more, I don't know, apathetic, and they don't even care to breed anymore. It's just, again, you have to read the fluff. It's really cool. The dwarves get the most hit points, but they don't increase in fighting, which for some of those people who like dwarves, that might be a slight issue. But again, with any of these old school games or old school flavored games, it's really easy to bring in other rules from other systems if you don't like something. So it's just something to keep into mind. The dwarves do have, they can carry more. They have these encumbrance rules that he came up with, which I think are pretty sweet. It's, like I said, similar to Labyrinth Lord, but different. It has 5 saves, same as they're a little bit tweaked as far as what the definitions are. They have the 3 alignments: law, neutral, and chaos. But again, it's more about like orientation than a morality code. Okay, and the alignments mainly affect how spells affect you. So depending on what alignment you are, certain spells might smash your face in, literally. Elves and magic users must be chaotic, like I said, as magic is chaotic in nature. Starting money for higher level characters is listed. It uses ascending AC, so you don't have to use Thaco. There's interesting details that affect combat in the weapons section, so you have to read those. The encumbrance rules are nice, very confined, not confined, but they're concise, and it's not like you have to be an accountant, so that was kind of nice. I've usually hand wave a lot of encumbrance rules in games. Okay, sorry for that. I always forget that webcam cuts out at 10 minutes. Here's another quote. Characters who prefer to fight when it is unnecessary are lunatics, possibly psychotic, and not likely to survive very long in a game run by a competent referee. So this kind of emphasizes that combat isn't the emphasis, or it shouldn't be the answer to every problem. You need to use your head, you need to think about things. There are going to be lots of situations where you're going up against something that is more powerful than you, can destroy you at a whim if it has the right circumstances. So you really have to research things and figure out what's going on and use the surroundings to your benefit. Running in and swinging at things with your sword is probably going to kill you pretty quickly. XP for combat is pretty much standard, and you only get XP for loot once it is stored or saved somewhere. So just because you get it doesn't mean you get that bonus. Again, you can house roll that, just say you got the gold, you get the XP, that's fine. There is a chance of learning a language when you bump into it. So let's say you are, this kind of reminds me of the Conan thing, where he knew a lot of smatterings of different languages, and he would sometimes know a language or a little bit of it when he bumped into it somewhere. So I think that's where this role was inspired by. So you basically have that nice chance to write a new language down your character sheet whenever you basically encounter it. There are rules for retainers and property and taxes, and the taxes thing is something that I think could probably be incorporated in more RPGs, where it's something that, death and taxes, they're both inevitable, even in some fantasy games. So maybe that's something you need to think about. There is, like I said, the character sheet's pretty nice. There's a summary that shows what benefits the demi-humans have over other classes. It has kind of like a nice overview of everything and how it kind of works out. Next section is like the referee book. And as with any role-playing publication, it says read through it, consider what is written, and disregard with extreme prejudice anything that you don't like. And I like the do-it-yourself kind of theme that is all through these books. And again, I'm of the same mindset where if it's not something I like, I'm going to pitch it. That's just how I am. It's a pleasant read through. It's probably the best booklet in the set. The author sounds like a cool old heavy metal older brother that you just want to like punch in the shoulder and take him out for a beer. So I really enjoyed that theme of the writing and kind of like a flavor. He shares his love of the hobby, and it's just sweet. He's trying to make something that contrasts with the mundane world. So you'll experience some normal everyday things, and then all of a sudden they'll be juxtaposed with something bizarre, creepy, weird, and hopefully unique. And that's the one thing I think that stands out about this game, is that it emphasizes that monsters are unique. They are something that you've never encountered before because there's only one of them. So the whole referee book is just awesome. It's a very good read. I thoroughly enjoyed it. If I wasn't constrained by by time and how much free time I have, I probably would have read it again the second time through. It was that good. No PC race can see in the dark. And this kind of goes back to one of those older videos I had about the fear of the dark and how dark vision might ruin that, and it's probably a good thing that this game doesn't have that. You can really bring in a lot of creepy vibe when you can only see to the end of your torchlight, and that's one thing that I kind of liked about the system and how the races were described. There are less restrictions for classes, and so again, you have to read the fine print when you're reading things. Turn Undead is a spell, and it's not a class ability. Specialists can customize instead of going up into a standard progression for skills. If you're familiar with Labyrinth Lord or Basic or Expert, depending on what level you are, that's how good you are at that skill. And this you can choose where your pips are on your d6s, how good you are at different things. Just because you're a specialist, well, actually, because the name of the class is Specialist, it's actually quite fitting, because you can specialize in sneaking around or specialize in traps or finding things, and it gives a little bit more options for the player, and I think that's awesome. The game tries to emphasize what my character is doing, not what my character can do, like what is on the character sheet. This is very much let the players be creative, throw problems at them and see what they can come up personally. So if you're the kind of person that depends on his character sheet to tell him what to do, you're going to have a little bit of a culture shock, because this game allows you to be more freewheeling, and for those who like rules light games, this I think is what the doctor ordered, I guess. I like the emphasis that, again, the monsters are unique and that they're weird and strange and should be a bit creepy. The magic section, most of the spell descriptions seem to bring in a slightly different tone, slightly different words to make them feel weirder. Again, it's like everything that you read in this game has that vibe to it that I think is awesome. Some are similar to the spells you may know, but again, just read the fine print, make sure they actually do what you think they do. There are 2 adventures. I really didn't get a chance to go through them that much. One seems like a hex crawl, and the other one seems like a pretty standard dungeon crawl, Wizard's Tower. But that's good. There are adventures that come with the game so that you can get started right away, especially if you're a new player. I highly recommend Lamentations of the Flame Princess, and I was really excited. I felt like a kid again when I was opening this thing up. So props to the game creator, my heavy metal older brother, and if you're in the U.S., I'd give you a beer. So have a good one, everyone.